everyone. Welcome back to the Girlfriends and Goals podcast. My name is Samaria, and I'm joined by my best friend and co host.
Miosha.
And today we have a very special guest on our podcast. For those of you who watch our MAFS reviews, you know this familiar, beautiful face. We have Brittany from season 19, Austin, on with us today. Hey, Brittany.
Hi, hello.
Hey.
How are you? Thank you so much for being a part of this episode. We're really looking forward to talking to you and getting to know you a little bit more and getting into the mindset during the season and after. All right.
Yeah,
So,
sounds good. Well, I'm really excited. Thanks for having me on.
absolutely. All right. Well, before we jump into questions, for those who are watching, please make sure you subscribe to our channel, give this video a like, and meet us in the comments to let us know your thoughts. If there were any questions that you would have asked, or if you would have done anything differently, just let us know in the comments. All right. We'll go ahead and hop in. And I want to start by asking your opinion as someone who is a MAFS fan. So, do you feel like being a MAFS fan kind of maybe skew your expectations going into this season? Like, did you have in mind the type of love story that you would want to unfold on the show?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I mean, obviously, I kind of knew what to expect in terms of, um, I guess the show, what it means. I knew the experts and, kind of going into it. Yeah, just basically like the format of it. But nothing can honestly prepare you to marry a stranger. Like no preparation for that. I wouldn't say it like skewed my expectations. I think the fact that I'm a hopeless romantic is the reason I had certain expectations and kind of just wanted everything to work out. I marriage is important to me, and so if I'm going in committed, I would hope that my partner is just as committed as I am, and then at that point, it really just becomes about us learning one another. Um, so I would say that and obviously I saw, being a fan, I saw the couples that made it, and they're still together and they have children together. But I think that actually being a fan of the show and kind of knowing what to expect would be a deterrent for some people because the success rate isn't very high, right? Like you
Yeah.
have all these couples and all these seasons, but only a small percentage of them actually make it and like they're still together. So I think that would actually be a deterrent, but for me, it wasn't. It was just like, oh, even if that could happen for one person or for one couple, like why can't that happen for me?
Mm. So you mentioned that you would describe yourself as a hopeless romantic. I guess being that it is married at first sight, I guess did you do any adjustments to your expectations going in, or was it whether I get married at first sight or I date this person for 2 years out in the normal world that I guess your expectations were the same? Were there any little adjustments that you may have made?
Yeah, I mean, I think the severity of like the situation, right? Like being married versus
Mhm.
just going out and finding someone in the real world. And like, I describe the maths world when you're in it as everything is on hyper speed. Everything is, the intensity is just 10 times more, the speed is 10 times more. Everything is just heightened. And so I don't think I had to adjust my expectations. And like, I don't think I had, a lot of people disagree. I don't think I had like super high expectations. It was just like, I went into this situation knowing that, okay, I'm married. So like, that's how I'm going to show up. It's not well, let's see if this person's going to be my partner. Or like, let's see if things are going to work out. I'm like, no, we're already committed. So like, let's just be committed. And then now we just have to learn one another. Um,
Mm.
that may have come off as a little differently than, what I envision in my mind. But like,
Mhm.
I think, I think just being in this situation, right? We don't have because of decision day, and I always thought of decision day as really just like a formality at that point, because there was no going back. Like, you can't get married and then just like, I mean, you can't go back, right? Obviously there's a divorce, but like my mindset was, I'm going into this, I'm married, I'm committed. This person on the opposite side of me, like, they're obviously going to be committed as well, and so there should be no questions about that. It should really just be about us now, like, getting to know one another and figuring out how we mesh together.
Hmm. At what point did you know or find out that Will was approached rather than him, I guess, applying for the show?
Yeah, we talked about it. I can't recall if we talked about it during the honeymoon, or if, because there was a period of time actually. So what you guys see is, you see us getting married and then like the next day you see us on the honeymoon. Well, in reality, there were a few days, not a full week, but I say maybe like 5 or 6 days in between that time, where like we were still communicating with one another. I got to see him actually a couple of times, and so we had a lot of time to really just connect, initially in those moments. And I believe we had that conversation. I honestly can't recall, but I think we had that conversation either during like that 5 day, 6 day period, or if we had it during the reunion. But even finding that information out, like, it didn't raise any sort of red flags for me. I thought it was interesting that like they actually go out and that they kind of approach people for it. But then at that point, I'm like, okay, sure, that's fine. You're opening up people to this experience that maybe they had not heard about. But like, once they approach you about the situation, and then it's like up to you from there. You decide to go through all the interview process and like fill out the questionnaire and, you know, meet meet with the experts, and you decide to get married. So
Yeah.
I was gonna say, I find what you said a little bit relatable about I was coming in and fully committed to this. Because I think at some point in life, you just have to go for things, and whether they succeed or they fail, at least you did everything that you could have done for it to succeed. And so I appreciate that mindset with like most things in life. I think the one area where I'm always hesitant, because I'm a little bit of a scaredy cat, is like love. So,
Yeah.
looking back, do you think, Will came in with that same mindset? And do you like, would you do things maybe a little differently if you were in this situation again?
yeah, I definitely know that he came in with a different mindset. And I think it's a little bit like his mindset is kind of similar to some people, even in prior seasons, right? Like, I always, even before I did the show, I always would hear people coming in and say, yeah, I'm just gonna see what happens. Or like, I'm not expecting too much, but like, I'm just gonna, do this and kind of see what happens. And like, my approach is just differently, because you are making the conscious effort. No one's twisting your arm. You're making the conscious effort to get married. And like, because that's a commitment, right? That's like one of the biggest commitments you can ever make, besides like being a parent. Like, being married is a huge commitment. And so I think there are certain things where like, if you say you're going to commit to it, like, you just have to commit to it. And that's also my personality. Like, if I say I'm going to do something, I just do it, and I commit to it like full force. I'm literally either like 0 or 100. Like,
Yeah.
there's kind of no in between. So that's really just my personality. But I think for others, in approaching the situation, it's like, it's how you approach it, like, that can be refined. But like, if you're going to make the conscious effort to get married to someone, then like, you kind of have to be all in. Otherwise, just don't do it. Otherwise, go out and date, because then, you don't have to be as committed in dating, or at least in the beginning. That's just my thoughts, my 2 cents.
And I think with a whole marriage, naturally, every relationship going forward, there may be some level of critique, and not the specific details of what happened, but did you give it your all, or did you just do this on a whim because it was something to do? This is a real marriage in that sense
Yeah.
of the next person, and the next person may say, okay, well, this is marriage number 2, yes, it was through a show, they also will have the opportunity to watch it all back and your level of effort and commitment. And it may even push them to question, well, why are you ready now? Why all of a sudden are you all in? When you had the opportunity, you maybe didn't take it. So,
Yeah, and it's one of those things where like, oh, and I didn't finish your answering your question, so I'll get to that. It's just one of those things where I never want to like look back on something and be like, oh, I could have, if I really just would have like done this or like fully applied myself, maybe we could have had a different outcome. Like I am kind of what you see is what you get, and I'm just gonna commit, and I go to sleep at night knowing that I did everything I possibly could, and like I wake up in the morning at peace. I go to sleep at night and I have peace knowing that like I just did everything that I possibly could have done. And then back to your question, if would I do anything differently if I were to like do this again? And I like the way that you phrase that question, because sometimes I get, do you regret anything that you did, or like would you do this whole like this with Will, this whole process all over again? And I'm like, my answer is always no, because I went through everything that I went through to like get to be the person that I am today. If I had the opportunity, let's say, to do this again, kind of knowing what I know and being the person that I am today, absolutely I would do things differently. My commitment level would not change, because that would absolutely be the same. I think for me, I would I kept saying like I was trying to understand Will in the beginning, and then just the way that came off, it didn't always come off the best. And it's hard to understand that once you're in it. But looking back, like we have the luxury of looking back and like watching ourselves and like how we react to certain things. So having all of that knowledge, knowing what I know now, then the person that I am today, I would have to do things differently, because that signifies growth. I wouldn't be able to like, if I were to have this opportunity to do it again and like be the exact same way and react the exact same way, then that means I didn't grow. And what was the point?
Brittany, that I feel like you should coach people on pageant answers. Not that that was like, it was just perfectly articulated, and and I think the answer is something that many people can relate to, because we're going to handle things maybe one way, like our past selves would, but like you said, it's an indication of growth when you look back and say, you know what, this could have been tweaked.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's like, why waste this opportunity? Like, how many people can say that they have the opportunity to like watch themselves on television, and like it's a golden opportunity, because as I was watching the show, like watching myself back, and it's interesting because we're watching it over like a year and a half after we've filmed. And so if you haven't changed or evolved in a year and a half, like that's a separate conversation. I don't know. Talk to whoever you need to talk to about that. So like having the opportunity to look back, like I really the way that I watched the show and like I watched it back was not to, the emotions weren't there, like the feelings, because I'd already healed and like gone through that. So like even in the moments where Will and I were having just really difficult times, like it didn't get to me emotionally. But the way that I approached it and watching the show back was like, okay, Brittany, how have you grown from, this situation? Like, what would you do differently now? And can you see where, maybe you overreacted, and like, can you just like see where there are growth opportunities? And like, that's really how I approached it in watching it back.
So, okay, we've talked about how important marriage is to you. One of the things that came up very early on that viewers didn't see like the outcome of was this conversation between your parents and Will, where he talks about being agnostic. And I immediately went to your Instagram profile and saw like the first thing that you say is like, Jesus is Lord. It's something like that.
Jesus is Lord and Savior.
Yes. And so I'm like, I wonder how this is going to play out in the season. But then it didn't. So can you talk to us about how that played a role in your decision to give your all to the marriage. Was it something that you were a little hesitant about and just decided to push through? Or did you take it as, okay, I'm just going to move forward and this must be who is for me?
Yeah, that's actually interesting because I thought that religion would be a bigger part of our story, or like what you guys see, like what actually ended up playing out, from like a viewer's perspective. And then I saw that it wasn't. I'm like, wait, do people even know that I'm a Christian girly? Because I don't think that was like anywhere in the show. So like that was a little, I mean, it was because we had a lot of drama, so of course they want to document that, but whatever. So I was actually not privy to that conversation with, that Will had with my parents at the reception. I didn't have a lot of time to like even talk to my parents afterwards, but like they didn't tell me that, oh, he's not religious, and like they didn't tell me that they had that whole entire weird conversation. So the first time I saw it, the first time I even knew about it was actually when you all saw it. So I'm watching it and I'm literally just like, this is so cringe. I was like, this is cringe. This is so bad. Like, and my poor mom, she was quiet because in her head, she knew, she's like, oh no, this is not going to work. Like, she doesn't believe in God. And like, here my daughter is, she's like, God is everything to me. But I will say the next day, when I got to meet up with his mom and his best friend, and then he got to meet up with my family, and then we came back to the hotel and kind of just had like a debrief. That is where I found out that he actually wasn't, I didn't find out that he was agnostic. I found out that like he grew up in the church. So that's what his mom told me. He grew up in the church. He grew up going to like, Christian school. Like he knows the Bible. But, as he got older, he started studying other religions, and like, he doesn't necessarily know if he doesn't necessarily know like if he believes in God because that's what he believes in, or if it was something that was kind of just like forced on him at a young age, right? And so we had the conversation where I was like, whoa, this is a big deal for me. This was actually what I told the experts for the show. I'm like, this is my number one deal breaker, is if someone like doesn't believe in God. I said that point blank period, because how are you going to lead me? And like, how are you going to love me like Christ loved the church if you don't even know what that means, right? And so we had that conversation, and what Will was really good at was, he assured me in that moment. He's like, yeah, I grew up in the church, but like, obviously I got older and like started studying other religions. But he said, I don't know exactly what he said, because he didn't use the word agnostic, but he said, I'm not opposed to going to church with you. I'm not opposed to kind of like rediscovering that part. And so that to me was like, I think what he actually said was, he grabbed my hand, he looked me in my eyes, and he said, you're my priority now. And if that's a priority for you, then we're going to like, it's a priority for me. Yeah. And I'm like, okay, I can work with that. Had I known, and we actually did for Easter, we actually did go to church together, which was awesome. But had I known that conversation with my parents at the reception like happened, I probably would have been more freaked out, and that honestly probably could have changed the whole like trajectory of our relationship, because that it's like a deal breaker for me. Like, so I don't know.
That's a lot of reassurance. And yes. So I could see that kind of giving you pause, but you saying, you know what, it may not be that big of a deal in the moment. Like, it's not a huge pressing issue.
Yeah, for me, what I saw in that, like when he told me like, hey, like you're my priority, it's a priority to you. I'm like, what I interpreted that as is like, he knows religion, like he knows the Bible. It's really just about reestablishing his relationship with God, and he's open to doing that, so I can work with that. That's what, like, when he reassured me in that moment, that's kind of what I took from that conversation.
Yeah, and if somebody is trying or willing to try, you don't want to write them off from the beginning. But I have been to seminary, right? And so like some of the things he was saying, I'm like, the average person hasn't looked into it. And, in seminary, I was like, I hate to use the word because it's so popular, but deconstruct maybe your first year or so, and then reconstruct in the following years. And so to be in this place where you're deconstructing and then not have that other portion, can be interesting for many people. And so I think I read into it as, okay, there might not be any coming back. But again, that was because I was privy to that conversation with your parents and things that you were saying.
Like, had I known that he was like, yeah, I'm agnostic, like, again, it wouldn't have worked. We wouldn't have even made it to the honeymoon because we would have been divorced.
So throughout, I would say the first half of the season, Samara and I spent a lot of time going back and forth of, is this the real Will? As you said, the way you said it was, you were trying to understand him. We were trying to understand Will.
Like, should we like him? Should we not like him?
We don't know what's really going on here, but we did want to give him the benefit of the doubt and acknowledging that we are all different. Something that you said was that Will was the kindest person that you'd met. Would you be able to elaborate on that, and if that was just in general or just from like a romantic point of view?
Yeah, I'd definitely say, like, so Will's interesting in the sense that with me, he showed a different side of himself with me. Like, he was very kind to me, in certain moments. He was very kind to me. Like, he was very much a gentleman. Like, never did I have to open my own door. He always pulled out the seat for me. He always, like, opened the car door. Like, very, very much a gentleman. Was not disrespectful to me. The breakup was a little different, but, like, was not and one other incident, but was not really, like, disrespectful to me. Like, but I could tell that he has, like, a good heart. And I will, I'll never deny that. He really does. I think what I didn't understand, like, in the beginning, because I had not, I guess, like, been around or, like, especially in, like, a romantic situation, I had not been with someone like Will before, where in the beginning, I was like, does he like me? Like, because he's giving me nothing. I felt like it was like, he's giving me nothing. He's saying, like, oh, you're beautiful and, like, all these things, but, like, the actions and, like, even the mannerisms. Like, I'm really big on, like, body language and mannerisms. Like, even that didn't match up. And so I struggled with that in the beginning. I mean, even during the honeymoon, like, what they don't show is in the down moments that we had, I thought that we would be, like, spending time together, just trying to really get to know each other. And then I think there was a moment where we went down to the pool and he just went off to go sit by the pool or, like, lay out by the pool. He had his AirPods in. He was like, I just need, like, I need my alone time. I need to just, like, be by myself. And I'm just like, oh, okay, well, that's interesting. But there was, like, a lot of that. So I was like, kind of confused. I'm like, wait, do you like me? Like, what? Because you say you do, right? But, like, a lot of people say a lot of things. And that's just not what I felt 100% in the beginning. But in terms of, like, who I know Will to be, I think he is a kind person. I don't know, there's just a lot of things that I don't think that he has looked inwardly and kind of, like, done the work there. Because what I found, and this is just my opinion, right? But what I found is, like, I'm here and I'm trying to understand you. And I think I got to a point, like, obviously in the beginning, we just kept missing each other. Our communication was crap. But, like, in the middle and towards the end, where it was easy for me to say, like, yeah, I love you. Like, I started to understand him and I started to understand, like, how his brain works and, how he handles certain situations. Like, what's a trigger for him? What's not a trigger for him? I don't think that he necessarily knew those things. And so it's like, I'm trying to understand you and I feel like I'm getting to a good point, but, like, I don't even think you know these things. And so that's what just made everything difficult.
Yeah.
Okay.
I feel like that also came up on on the honeymoon, you had this conversation with the ladies, and you came back and you were like, oh, I get it now. I think Megan might have said something in the group conversation. You were like, oh, so I'm starting to understand you now because of what came out of this meeting with the ladies. And you were like, yeah, no, that's not it. And I was taken aback, so I'm like, I can only imagine how it was for you. But
Yeah.
During the season, and then maybe up until the retreat, we saw you trying to understand him, and I think it was at the retreat that you said, maybe I'm just not his person, or maybe I'm just not the one. And I wonder if you could maybe take us back to what you were thinking at that time, because from an audience perspective, I kept saying she needs to step away from whether she's his person and examine whether he's her person. Yeah. So was that something that crossed your mind, or were you focused on, okay, is it me for him?
Yeah, that's a good point. I don't think I questioned whether or not he was my person, because I think by that point, like, I knew how I felt about him. I just had in my mind, right, when I think about two people who are compatible and they're in love and they're married, like, and I even said this in my wedding vows, I said, I want to be your safe space. I envision two people, like, being able to bear everything with one another and, like, express this certain vulnerability with one another or with each other that they can't express with other people. And for me, I felt like there's just I can't break through. I'm like, he's not opening up to me. I can't, and I just, like, I couldn't figure out why. But knowing that he had done this before, like, it was easy for him. I don't know if it was easy for him, but, like, in prior relationships, it worked, I guess. I don't know. I don't even know what I was thinking about there. But, like, I just couldn't figure out why he couldn't come to me and, like, tell me certain things. Like, he got really close with one of the guys on the show, with Chad, actually. And so, like, they could always have conversations. And I couldn't figure out, like, why is he not able to open up to me? Like, why is he not able to? And I didn't think at the time that it could be because he was afraid that, like, I'm going to have some type of reaction and, like, it's going to lead to confrontation. And he is, like, he hates confrontation in the slightest bit. So I didn't think about that. I just thought, like, okay, he's not able to, like, really be vulnerable with me. Maybe I'm just not his person. And I think it came off as, like, from a place of insecurity. But for me, it really was like, maybe I'm not his person. Like, okay, but tell me that. So that way we can, like, come decision day or whatever, it's a no for both of us, right? But I think I kept saying this, I'm like, 1 foot in, 1 foot out. Like, he would show me just enough what I needed to, like, reassure me, but then backtrack. And, like, I never felt, I don't want to say never, because towards the end I did, but, like, in the crux of it all, like, I didn't really feel secure in our relationship. Very secure in myself.
I was just about to
I
say,
didn't
you
feel,
were very...
very secure in myself. I didn't feel secure in our relationship, because it was like, I felt it was 1 foot in, 1 foot out. I'm like, I'm walking on eggshells, but also he was walking on eggshells around me too. And we didn't understand that, like, give me the opportunity to, if you want to express something, if you're feeling a certain kind of way, and, like, that's what I kept trying to pull out of him. But for him, it was like, no, I can't tell you these things because you're going to have some type of reaction that I'm just not equipped to handle. And for me, it was like, I'm reacting because you're not giving me. And so it was like, which one comes first, right? Is Brittany reacting, or is he, like, not giving her the information that she needs?
And leading up to decision day, you mentioned in your interview with AD that you all had this dinner and it was a yes. So even though you had been going back and forth, where you felt like you couldn't get a good footing, or I guess a good stretch of things being good, you said that you felt like it would be a yes, but you also had a feeling. Was that just intuition, or was it because of something he said, I guess, in the days leading up to decision day?
I didn't have a feeling that it would be anything other than a yes. Like I knew it was going to be a yes, 100%. Our last 2 weeks, were like the best moments of our
Mm.
relationship. Our last 2 weeks, I felt extremely secure in our relationship. So there was no hesitation, no doubt. We had a conversation where we had to, talk about decision day because it was approaching and coming up. And he told me, he said, decision day is just it's just another day in our relationship. We were already planning on like life after filming, so he was going to move in with me to my place, and then we were going to try to like figure out if this is what our long-term living situation was going to be because I knew he didn't want to live. I lived, or my house is out in a suburb. I knew he didn't want to travel that far, but like immediately post filming, it made sense for him to move into my place because I have the space. So we had talked about that. We had talked about combining our finances. Like we had talked about all the things. Um, and he was like, "Yeah, decision day is just another day." We at some point he had said, "I don't want any surprises." Like we were like in an intimate moment. He's like, "I don't want any surprises." I'm like, "Bro, what are you talking about? Like we already know it's gonna be a yes, right?" So like that's my mindset going into decision day, like leading up to it. And then the night before decision day, we didn't spend the night together, as you guys like saw. So he stayed at his place, and then I stayed at the apartment that they put us in. And but we did have dinner the night before, and like that day before decision day, like he surprised me with a gift. Like he bought me some perfume, and he bought me something else. I'm like, "Oh, this is cute." And then we met up and we went to dinner that night, and we had dinner. Like it was just like this is not
Yeah.
in my mind. I'm like, this is not our last dinner, because none of that. It
Last
didn't give
supper.
any of that.
Yeah.
And so we got back, and I text him. We were actually talking about like what we were gonna wear, and then he was like, "Oh yeah, I'm like doing laundry right now," or whatever the case may be. And so then it was like later on, I was going to sleep. I texted him good night, but he didn't respond. So I'm like, in that moment, I'm like, "Oh, okay, like he probably went to sleep." I texted him the morning right when I woke up because I woke up pretty early to like go and get my makeup done. I texted him, he didn't respond. So at that point, I was like, "Okay, well maybe he's just not up." And so then, as you guys saw, he called me while I was in the makeup chair, and he's like, "Hey, just letting you know." And this was literally like what he said. He's like, "Hey, just letting you know, I'm going to say no." And so that was a shock because I'm like, "Where did this come from?" Like, how? Like maybe if you would have said that a month ago, like a month before, I would have been like, I would have been disappointed, but I would have been like, not as shocked. But like at that moment, after everything that we had talked about, I was just 100% shocked. And then even just hearing his reasoning. So I didn't even know his reason for saying no. I mean, we had when we were on the phone and like I got up from the makeup chair and I went to the room and like I closed the door, he was just I felt he was coming from a place of fear because he kept saying, "What if it doesn't work out? And like 3 months in, and like I'm living at your place, and I no longer have my place, and like where am I gonna live?" Like to me, I'm like, "Oh, it's just coming from a place of fear." So I was telling him like, "Well, like I need you to really think about this. If you're gonna say no, like I need you to be, I need you to be sure." But even at that point, like I knew he wasn't going to change his mind. Will is not someone who's easily influenced. He is not someone that like you can try to change his mind because he's very much like who he is. And so I was like just emotional that entire morning. I didn't even want to go. Um, I think I let her finish my makeup. I'm like, I don't even want to do my hair. I'm like, I just don't want to. I'm getting ready to go and get divorced, and I said that. And so we get there, and I'm like, it's going to be a no. So like, there is no point in me really saying anything. I didn't want to say anything actually. And when I'm watching the show back, that was the first time I'd heard about him, like this his real reasoning for wanting to say no was that he felt like I was invalidating his feelings, or like he felt like his feelings didn't matter, like I because he never told me any of that. So I'm like, I didn't know any of that. How'd you told me? We could have had a conversation about that, right? So like that was my first time hearing it. It's like when I'm watching it back. um so yeah, we get to decision day, and obviously like you guys saw what happened, but it's
That
just very
is
interesting.
so interesting because then Samara and I recapping at least from the viewer's point of view, it seemed that things were still choppy leading up to decision day. So I thought like, oh, it could be a no from him or you, or things just didn't seem stable. So to hear that things have been stable for 2 weeks leading up and
Yeah.
the way the last conversation went, it's so shocking that it was such a flip.
Yeah, and I mean, like, when we obviously had, I think I even said, like, we had, like, not arguments, but disagreements, but in the way that we were able to recover from those. Like, what you guys saw on the boat, when we were on the boat, um, I didn't think I mean, obviously in the moment, and it's like watching it back, I'm like, oh, Brittany, like, shut up. This guy loves you. Like, just shut up. What are you saying? And I don't even think that was what I was trying to say, but like, whatever. That's just what happened. Um, but even in that moment, it was still a beautiful moment because, like, I'm like, yeah, sorry. I'm not questioning you. I'm like, I even said, I'm like, this is not my intention. I really don't know what I was getting at there, but like, this is not my intention. I know you love me. I love you, yada, 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 right? So, like, even in those moments where, like, maybe we have a disagreement, we were able to, like, really just recover from it. So, like, those last 2 weeks, really, we were good. We were solid. And if he was having any sort of, like, doubt or hesitation, I was not aware of that.
Ooh, yeah. That gives a lot of context.
Oh yeah, it's
Yeah.
always a context that's missing, right? When you're, watching these shows from a viewer standpoint. But for me, like that's why I never got upset at like any of the comments or anything. So I'm like, oh, they're just missing the context.
Oh yeah, even in I think your headspace going into decision day, we thought like, okay, Brittany, it's a no. It should be a no. As you said, you really didn't even want to show up, and you felt like it would be a no. But then to hear his reasoning on the phone, you acknowledge like, oh, it's just coming from a place of fear. So hearing that background knowledge, I think it does shift. I think my perspective of how the decision day went, because I think in that conversation you were trying to get to the root of the problem and not necessarily convince this man to stay married to you.
Yeah, because like that's not what I wanted to do at all. Like I really like I was emotional. I was emotional wreck that day. Like because in my mind, like he said no. I'm like this is it. Like we're done. So I did not even want to express anything. I didn't want to, hey Brittany, like tell Will how you're. I didn't want to do any of that. So we're sitting there with the experts, and like I had told them that the night before decision day, I rewrote my wedding vows because I thought that would be romantic, right? Like, like I'm gonna rewrite my vows and then I'm just gonna share them with you on decision day because I thought we were gonna be just like saying all these good things about one another, and then like we're gonna say yes and like kind of walk off into sunset, whatever. So I rewrote my wedding vows that night, and I told the experts that I did that. And so I think Pia was like, hey, why don't you, read the wedding vows that you rewrote? And I did not want to do it. I'm like,
See?
I don't see a point in this, but I did it. And then what you guys see is like it goes immediately into me saying like I love you, and I do know that you love me and all these. So that was like the lead up to that. I read my
And we're like, no, Brittany, don't
yeah, so
do it, Brittany.
yeah, I know. It wasn't like a last ditch effort to change his mind. It was like, all right, I'm gonna read these wedding like read my revised wedding vows, and then after that it was like I love you, and that's when it went into what you guys saw. And then he said these are things I hadn't heard before, and like what you don't see is I think I'd said something under my breath. I'm like what are you talking about? I'm like, okay, whatever. So I was pissed at that moment. I think at some point I said, oh, this is stupid. Even on the couch. Because I was like, to me, in my mind, I was like, there's no point. When he got up, actually, when he walked away and was like, I just need more time or whatever, I looked at the experts because he walked away. I looked at the experts and I said, this is pointless. He's not going to change his mind.
Okay, that was actually one of our questions. We're like,
Yeah, we wanted to know.
what did you and the experts talk about while he was on his stroll? Because like surely they were just sitting there in silence the whole time.
We were sitting, like, they actually got up, we were sitting there for a good while, and they got up, they went to use the restroom. I hadn't eaten that entire day, so I'm like asking production, I'm like, do you guys have any snacks, anything that I can eat? Because I had not eaten, and by that time, I think it was like 12 or 1 or something, and I woke up at like 5. So I was starving. I'm like, you guys have like food for me? I was also like, can we just like get this
Yeah.
along? Because he's gonna say no. I'm going to need my time to process, and go cry about it later. Because like, obviously that's not what I wanted, but like, if that's his answer, that's his answer. And then what's interesting though is when he comes back, we talk about like on the couch, we talk about, well, we say we wanted to do couples therapy. We literally talk about like how we're going to, like, if we were to continue this, how we were going to like do things differently. So we talked about we were going to go to couples therapy, and, just like do all of these things. I even said like, if you don't want to move in together like immediately, like we can kind of work, we can just talk about these things and kind of work through it, which I think is which is what made him feel comfortable saying yes. Because like we talked about all these things we're going to do to like try to better our relationship going forward and ensure that it's just like not going to be the same as it has been while filming. And then so they ask us like, okay, now the time has come for you to like make your decision, whatever. I hesitated actually, because in my mind I was like, I'm not going to say yes if he's going to say no. So what they don't show is like me actually like hesitating, because I'm like, but then I'm like, screw it. And I finally said yes. And then he said yes. I'm like, okay.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when he said yes, I think we kind of felt like, ooh, how it's going to be a rocky start, because you can't, I think I used the example of like, once something is said in a courtroom and they're like, oh, strike it off the record, the jury can't unhear what was said. Like, you can't unknow that he was prepared to say no to you that day. And so can you talk to us just a little bit about post decision day? We hear he goes and he's on a work trip, and then he comes back. This scene was a little heartbreaking to watch, because maybe it was a last ditch effort, maybe it was confusion, but what's going on through your mind when he comes back and he's like, harshly, it's a wrap?
Yeah. Yeah. So to your point, right? Like what you said, if you say something in a courtroom, like the jury can't unhear what was said. I asked him, like, as we're walking away from decision day, I said, were you secure in your no? He said no. And then I said, are you secure in your yes? And he said yes. And so then, like, literally, we left the venue, we went back to his place, and then he had to leave immediately to go work trip. So I'm there, like, that whole week was just an emotional week for me, because I was literally, my brain, like, he was really going to say no, and like, we were going to get a divorce, and like, you can't walk that back. Like, once something is said, like, you just can't walk it back. So I'm sitting there like, if I was insecure about our relationship before, I'm even more insecure about it now, because like, this was going to happen, like, and now we can't even like talk about it. We can't even like rehash what happened because he's gone. So I needed a lot of reassurance that week, especially as he was away. But even during that week, I was like looking up, I actually made us like 3 consultations to go and talk to therapists, like for couples therapy. And like, I was texting him, I was like, hey, I like talked to these people, or I set up a consultation for these people. Like, when you get back, we can talk, like we can have a nice dinner. We can kind of talk about our plan going forward. And then, so when he came back on that Friday, like I called him earlier that day, and like he was on the plane, and I think he was just frustrated about something, and like I could tell he was frustrated. And so I had said like, okay, yeah, just call me later. And then when I text him, I said, oh, you just didn't seem like excited, you don't seem excited to see me. That was his final straw. Like, I knew that was his final straw, because he texted me back and he's like, and I said, it was an emotional week, and he said, I'm gonna make sure this never happens again. So as soon as he sent me that text, I just knew he was going to break up with me. And I think I was fine in that moment with it. I think I called Megan and I said, Will's going to break up with me. But I was okay in that moment because I'm like, this is not how I'm supposed to be feeling. So I thought we were going to have like a cordial, like breakup conversation, like where we just talked about this isn't working for you, this is not working for me. Like, I thought we were going to have a conversation about it where at least I could be sad after the fact, but like, let's just get through this conversation. What happened was completely different and it threw me off. So he came home and I'm watching wrestling on the couch. And he came home, like actually late that night, he came home and he had his suitcase. I'm like, oh, okay, well maybe he's like, he just got back from traveling. So like he's, whatever. I didn't think anything of it. He sat down, he waited for the show to go on commercial. He looks at me and he says, Brittany, I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to be married to you. And I had said like, okay, can we have a conversation? Like, can we talk about it? There's no need to talk about it. Like, I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to do this. And he gets up, he like walks away like to the room, and I follow him, and I'm just like, whoa. I thought we were going to talk about this. Like, what do you mean? And then he says all the things that he knew would hurt me. I don't care about you. I don't want to be with you. I don't want to do this. And it was just awful. Like, it wasn't, I don't know how, like, it was just not nice. It wasn't nice at all. But like, as you guys saw, like, he's walking back into the living room, and I'm just like, when I say please don't do this, I didn't mean don't break up with me. I meant like, don't do it like this. Don't be like, he was so cold to me, and he even like admitted it, like during the reunion of why he was cold. He's like, I had to break up with her this way to like, whatever. And in his brain, like, that's what he felt like he needed to do. But it was just awful. Like, it was really awful. And then what was also really confusing is like, as he's walking out the door, and I said, because I was even like, well, I need to be with someone who like values me and appreciates me. And he's like, yeah, absolutely. You do need to go find that person. But just like the way that he said it was like cold and like, did I just not mean, like, what the hell was the point of these 2 months? I was just like not mean anything to you. And then it was weird because he said, as he's walking out the door, he said, and just let me know what time you want to be ready tomorrow so we can go to Rhonda's stepdad's like funeral. I'm like,
What?
So that's what happened. Yeah, weird.
Wow. So what it sounds is I think you had certain expectations of how the relationship would come to an end. Like, this is ideally not how you would end a marriage.
Yeah, I like thought that, I mean, I knew the breakup was going to be hard for me regardless because it's not what I wanted, but also I wasn't going to try to change his mind. Like, that's been my whole thing. I'm like, I'm not trying to change your mind. I just like have respect for me so we can like talk about this. And I was not prepared for how the breakup was going, like how it actually transpired. Like, it threw me for a loop. I'm like, why are you being so cold to me? Like, why are you saying all these things? And, later on, he explains it as like, that's actually how he broke up with someone before in his past. He's like, I have to be mean. I have to, let them know that like, there's no hope. And in my mind, I'm like, you don't have to do that. Like, you don't have to like hurt someone you don't have to hurt someone like that, right? Like, I'm a big girl, just like, and I think that's been my whole thing throughout like our entire relationship. It's like, you don't have to like do these things or like walk on eggshells around me. If you just talk to me, give me the opportunity to like at least, react or whatever, but like, don't take away, like, just don't take that away from me,
Don't
so
try to
like,
manage me. Like, if
don't try to manage,
validating your
you
feelings.
know let me, if I'm gonna blow up, hey, I might surprise you and I might not. You don't know.
Yeah. Okay. So we do just have to ask, because it came up at the reunion where he was saying, oh, you were going to his apartment, like you dropped off. Was it a letter for him? So
Yeah.
just the mindset behind the letter. If you knew his mind isn't going to change, there's nothing
Yeah.
I can do here.
So that happened, right? So he broke up with me end of April. It's like April 26th. We had a few more days of filming left. We're actually like, we filmed something the next day. We had to do like a promotional photo shoot where it's like, are they together? Are they not together? So we had to be like really like intimate and romantic, and like that shit was awkward because we weren't together.
Yeah.
And then our last day of filming, I got emotional because I'm like, this is it. Like after today, like I'm never gonna see you. I told him, I said, I'm never gonna see you again. Like I'm never gonna talk to you anymore. Like this is it. And he looked at me. He said, Brittany. He hugged me. He kissed me. He said, I love you. We are gonna see each other again. Just give me 2 weeks. I'm like, okay. I said, and so I gave him 2 weeks of like no communication, almost of like, and that was the hardest 2 weeks of my life. Like it was hard because I just had a lot going on personally, and then like on top of this, and I gave him 2 weeks of no communication because almost like I bet he thinks I'm not good, like I can't do this, but I can do it. I'm not gonna talk to you for 2 weeks. I'm gonna give you your 2 weeks to do whatever you got to do. 2 weeks in, I text him like, hey, I said, hey, like I know, because I knew his mom was in town. I think it was like Mother's Day weekend or something. I said, hey, I know your mom is in town. Like, can we talk tomorrow? Because this was on a Saturday. I texted him. And then, so Sunday, I figured like she would have been going back home Sunday. Can we just talk tomorrow? And he texted me back. He's like, I don't think there's anything to talk about. Please respect my wishes. I'm like, okay, well, you said 2 weeks and like, I'm not going to rush anything, but like, I just want us to have a conversation. He kept saying, I don't think there's anything to talk about. So I sent a message back because I was pissed. I sent a message back and I said, you knew you weren't going to talk to me after these 2 weeks. Why even string me along for these 2 weeks? You don't care about me. You said you didn't care about me. And I said, you don't respect me because this is just, he blocked me after that. Okay. You know, and so I wrote a couple days later, I wrote him a letter. As that was like my last ditch effort. The letter was like, I love you. I'm sorry I said what I said. I know you respect me, blah, blah, blah. Like kind of all these things. Like the letter honestly was like, I see you. Like, I know who you are. I see you. I know why you feel like you have to do these things, yada, yada, yada. Should I have, I shouldn't have wrote the letter because whatever. But I'm like, maybe I should have mailed it. I don't know. Whatever. I didn't think about that in the moment. So I literally I just dropped off the letter. Like, I wasn't trying to like, I didn't knock on his door. I wasn't trying to like, hey, let's have this conversation. And like, I'm here with this letter. I was literally like, I just dropped off the letter. Hindsight, shouldn't have done that. Hindsight, shouldn't even wrote the letter. Because obviously he didn't read it, which whatever, it's fine. And then, so that's what, at the reunion, when he said that like, yeah, and they told me like you were coming up to my place, I said, Only time I was there was when I dropped off the letter. And if you've seen, or if anyone has seen me recently, it's because Jalen lives there, and Jalen and I are best friends. And so Jalen had a pool party for 4th of July, so I was there. Jalen had like another thing at her place. I was there. I was at Jalen's house the night before we flew out to the reunion because we wanted to like, you know, have like a little girls' night and like have a little sleepover. So I'm like, if anyone has seen me there recently, it's because I've been with Jalen. And the only time I was there that one time is when I went to go drop off the letter. So I was like irked that he made it seem like, oh, she's stalking me.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm like, bro, what?
Yeah, there are even people in our comments who were like, oh, y'all are like, she stalked him, and I guess it's okay because it's a woman. It's like, we have not verified that.
I think it seems as though you were seeking closure to a certain extent, and so, or at least to kind of wrap things up in a certain way. And so in looking back, I guess going forward, would you seek closure in a different way, or has it adjusted your expectations of what closure and conversations would look like as a relationship is coming to an end?
Yeah, I mean, this is something Will actually told me. He's like, what he said, closure isn't real. And I'm like, okay, sure. I felt differently. What I feel now is like, you know, someone had, like, if they show you who they are the first time, believe them. Or like, if they show you that they don't want to be in this relationship one time, like, that's it. I wouldn't have done going, you know, today would I try to fight so hard for a relationship? Absolutely not. because that took a lot out of me. Like that was emotional for me. And I never done that before. Like I'm normally good about, if it's over, it's over. And like I can move on and like forget you even exist. I'm actually really good about that. For this, I guess it was because it wasn't necessarily losing him, which that did hurt because I did love him. It was more so about, I wanted to be married so bad, and like I thought we were working. In the beginning we weren't, but like I thought we were working. I'm like, holy crap, like now I'm going to be divorced at 30. And I'm like, I just didn't think that this was ever going to happen. I'm losing what I thought my life was going to look like after filming. That was hard for me. Like having to get over that, and like it was almost like mourning like the death of like a goal, or like a something that you just really worked so hard for. Like that was what made it really difficult for me. Not necessarily the person, and I don't want to minimize like Will or like our relationship. It was really hard to like not, it took a while to adjust to like not talking to him every day or like not seeing him every day. But it was really more so this thing that I had, like I had it in my hand, right? This relationship that I so desperately wanted, I had it in my hand, and like abruptly it's just gone, and I have no say so in that. Like that was really tough for me.
Yeah, as I think as people who like set goals and then often achieve them,
Yes.
relationships are so different because with every other thing in our lives, there's something I can do to be better. If I have a fitness goal, I can go
Yeah.
to the gym more times. I can adjust my diet. Like there's so much control that we have in other areas that we set goals for. With relationships, it's like this person won't they won't play the role that I've assigned them to play.
Yeah, and that's
They won't
tough.
act right.
They won't act right. I'm like, this is not what I expected.
I could definitely see that. Well, where are you today? You talked about like wanting marriage deeply. Where are you with that today? Have you adjusted that expectation for yourself?
I haven't, like, I still want marriage, and I know it's going to come. It's not something that I'm seeking. Like, I'm not seeking to find my person. I know that my person's going to find me. I'm really just like working on, I don't know, like this has been the best year for me. I've been thriving literally in all aspects of life, besides the relationship space. But I've even been fine with that. Like, I love being single right now. Um, I like, I'm, I feel like I've always been dating with intention because I've always just been like super picky, actually. But I am open to dating. It just has to be the right person. Like I keep telling myself, and like maybe I shouldn't be putting this type of pressure on myself, but it's just how I feel. I'm like, I can't afford to get it wrong again. Because I don't want to, like, I'm at a point in my life where I don't want to just date to date and like go out and have fun. Like, if I am going to, if someone's going to come into my life right now and like the way things are right now and like not interrupt or disturb my peace, or even have that like, even giving someone that much power to potentially disturb my peace, like no, 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 it has to be the right person. Like it just 100% has to be the right person. So like this, where I am now, it's like I am open to dating because I definitely want to, I want to have my person. It just like it has to be the right guy.
Yeah. As you were talking, just something that I noted, you were like, oh, I looked up these people and I like did all these things, and I sense the effort that you put into like making sure things panned out a certain way, and I really hope that when you find your person, they're initiating and they're putting in the effort, like they're matching your energy.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And I don't think it'll be that difficult to understand or figure out. It's going to come, I think, relatively gently, easily,
Oh yeah.
safely, all the things. So,
Thank you.
Yeah, with security in a relationship.
Security, yeah. No, I believe that wholeheartedly. Like this experience didn't deter me from like, I'm not jaded, I'm not bitter. I'm actually more excited for the possibility of love right now because I know 100% like what I want, and I know what I won't put up with. And I know, it's like, I know what good looks like and I know what good doesn't look like. And so if I even get any sense of anything that I've dealt with in the past, it's like, yeah, no, not gonna happen.
Yeah.
That's good. Yeah, I think one of our questions is going to be like, what did you learn about trusting your instincts, like from
Yes.
this whole process? You know.
Yes.
I learned that I need to trust my instincts and I need to actually follow them, because I knew from the honeymoon, I'm like, this is not gonna work. I just didn't, you know. I'm like, oh, but I'm married, I'm committed. Like, you can't just back out now, right? So,
Yeah.
and I also learned, like, marriage is important, but not to put so much weight on, like, to your point, like, someone has to match my energy and my level of commitment. And, like, if I'm, obviously it's going to look a lot differently because I'm not starting off with marriage now. I'm, you know, I really do want to date someone and really take the time to get to know them, and not just be infatuated by words and actions that are wishy-washy.
Yeah.
Right. Well, to close off, are there any moments that you want to share, like any advice that the experts gave you that just really stuck out to you during the season?
I think what, for me, it was Pastor Cal actually you know, one of the things that he told Will and I to do was like to have naked moments, and like not like naked moments, although because like you know, sure, but naked moments in the sense of like being vulnerable. Like if we're in a conversation, or like we're having a disagreement, then we say, hey, can I have a naked moment? And that basically means to like put down your weapons, or like put down your, you know, your shield, your guard, and like really just express what it is that you're feeling, or what you're trying to convey. In theory, that would have, like, we didn't necessarily have the opportunity to apply that tool, but I like that. It's like, hey, let me just be me and be vulnerable for a second without being judged.
Yeah.
I think that's actually really, you know, pretty good advice. So maybe I'll have to apply that in the next relationship.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for joining us, Brittany. It is like really difficult to be on a show like this,
Yeah.
deal with the comments, and I think breakups are hard naturally, but to do it like on this type of platform, I don't think I saw anything that I haven't seen in real life. Like when it comes to breakups, like in theory, you know what to do, but in practice, those feelings, they get to you. And so kudos to you for handling the comments so well. And it's been great watching you like grow through the season and then hear about your journey after.
Yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
All right, well, we're going to sign off with that. And don't forget to subscribe, like, and leave us a comment, some words of encouragement. And we'll see y'all on the next one. Bye.
Bye.